So the driveway wraps all the way around the house. You're at the end of the street. And there's not really, from most sides of the house, there's really no cabin in sight. From this front side of the house, you can see the neighboring cabin, but it's pretty far away. And there's 3 properties that look of a similar style, but you know, different finishes, really beautiful properties. And then there's a cabin way up the hill there that you can see. There's definitely driveway space that could be used to create some amenity space up here if you wanted to try and squeeze in like a pickleball court or something. The roads are all paved until you get to just this Boundless road, and it's pretty flat and smooth, with the exception of just this hill right here. So the steepest part is probably leaving and going up. So your guests in 2-wheel drive cars would probably just want to keep speed right here. I'm in an all-wheel drive car. And then if there were issues with that, it's a solvable problem, because you know you could just kind of asphalt like the steepest stretch if you started to have problems with people spinning out or something like that. And then same thing here, like your guests, obviously any 2-wheel drive car would have no problem just going straight ahead here. But for your rookie, and then again, this loops all the way around. But your rookie guests, if they're really trying to get up here, they could potentially have some issues right here. So a little bit of paving, you know, from halfway up the hill or 3/4 up the hill up to here would be a worst case scenario, and you'd have pretty much all paved access to the property, with the exception of that little stretch from here until the paved roads. But overall, like, pretty well maintained gravel here too, so it's not something you'd necessarily have to worry about immediately. That would just kind of be a contingency plan. So there's 2 ways to access the pool. Right here. And then I'll go the other way as well. Cool that you have two covered decks, and you really have a 3rd covered amenity space down here as well. So here's the steps down to the pool. It's a big pool. There's your little greenhouse thing. It's actually a good distance from the house, with the pool already being a few steps down. And then the rest of this back area is pretty sloped. I like the dark interior or liner of the pool, because that's gonna make it easier to maintain and not have like cleanliness complaints. So that's, I don't know if that was their intention, but that was smart. So you got a little path down to, it's actually not really a clear path down to that. And I'm not really sure what I would do with that, but I'm sure you could come up with some sort of kids treehouse concept or something with that space. It's a nice big pool. There's a shelf here, and then it does look like it gets gradually deeper to this end. Looks to be 5 or 6 feet right here. This looks like it's basically brand new, so I wonder if up until recently they were just using that gravel path and then they added these steps recently. I'll do a full walk around here and then go in. So this clearing is probably 6.5, 7 feet high right here at the front. It's probably about 7 feet high underneath here. And I would definitely utilize this space for some more amenities. You could do a cool putting green course down here or something like that. This is another potential spot to like put in a pickleball court if you wanted to. You'd obviously chop up the driveway depending on how you set it up, and you'd probably need to retain a little bit. So this would be more expensive than maybe doing it at the top of the house. But this is technically a decent spot where you could squeeze in like a pickleball court if that was a goal. And then I would also consider this area as another spot, and maybe the best option if you wanted to keep the driveway fully connected. Again, you're working with some different slope and cost, but definitely an option to squeeze in some sort of additional decking or amenities or do some grading, because it's not overly steep and aggressive right there. And then up here you already have the width and the length, so this would probably be the cheapest spot. And there's room to still have plenty of parking and squeeze that in, so a couple of good options for amenity spaces. the storage. Views are phenomenal. Definitely tier 1 views with layered long range views out there. There's different categories of view quality, and this is definitely tier 1, like upper tier, right up there with the best views you can get in this market. Very cool, unique pantry. Second fridge in here. Laundry room. Two-way fireplace. Pocket door right here. It's like a herringbone sort of lay of the floor. That's different from the living room. You can tell they really customized this home with paint and flooring. Nice views from the bed. I believe that's a bidet. I have not seen a bidet in a while, so I'm a little rusty. Huge shower with 2 sides, rain head there, standard. Maybe a little grout cleanup would be good, freshen up. That's always hard with white grout, but you're getting a little bit of that like orange coloration. Overall feels pretty well maintained, but definitely a house that's been lived in full time for a couple years is what it feels like. Let's go here. Looks like you're stubbed for gas right here on this side and on that side where the grill is. Views are fantastic. Sometimes I feel like the videos and photos just don't do it justice. There's a little cat right there. It's a small detail, but this could be a little gap where like a kid, I don't even know if this is worth flagging, but it's just something I thought about, like if you're gonna have kids come in here, maybe accidentally stepping, number one, just walking across this ledge, and then number two, kind of their little feet and legs. I'm just sensitive because I have little kids stepping down into that crack. So something to consider, maybe just running a handrail off of this side and running it along that side too. That would be overly cautious and you could get away with not doing it, but that's something I would consider. A little creak on that stairwell, but not the end of the world. So this could be an interesting little sleeping kids nook under the stairwell. It's dead space right now. It could be a little kids game nook, or you could tuck some little beds or make it feel like some sort of tree house. You'd have to get creative there, but you could tuck some little kids beds under there. I'll point out this cracking in the floor. I like to point that out when it's noticeable enough that you could like feel it with your toes, and if it runs meaningful distance. You see that a fair amount in these ground level kind of basements where they do like a concrete stain finish. A lot of times you'd have LVP flooring or something over this, so it's probably there more often than we realize, but you just don't see it as often because you have the flooring. But it's, cracking across the foundation flooring is, something worth noting and paying attention to. I have relatively small hands and fingers, but it's good size. You could stick a penny in some of these cracks, and it runs kind of across there from that back wall kind of over to here, and then there's another run right here that you can see that kind of runs over here. So that would be something, wouldn't scare me away from the property necessarily, but would be something to dig into. There's another one here, so there's a good amount of it. Like I said, I've seen this plenty, but it would be something that you'd want to, at a minimum, have the inspector look closely at, and then could potentially be, a foundation concern, and that can be a loaded thing to say, flagging a foundation concern, but you know, when it comes to foundation issues, those can be extremely expensive. So you want to be overly cautious with things like that. Tankless water heater. Filter, looks like the filter for the water. Here's the second full bath. Got some cool lighting going on. Big walk-in closet. And the office / bedroom. And here's another interesting like closet that could be, you could fit a, if we're looking for another sleeping space, you could do some built-in bunks in here, some sort of kids bunk room. And make this like a kids sleeping wing type of thing. So that's an option for sure. Or this could be a little arcade room if you weren't trying to squeeze sleeping capacity into here. There are good views from this lower level as well. If there was something to point out that felt a little cheap, I would say it's probably the doors. They're fine, but they're kind of, and I think they go with the general kind of minimalist style. Lots of like expensive details, you know, all the recessed lighting and everything throughout the house. And then I would say these doors, if you can't tell from the video, they just feel, they're not heavy, solid doors, which is probably fine for a rental anyway, but just something to point out. Here's the last bathroom. Like even just extending the tile out of the shower. Like they obviously did a lot of details. This paint line along here's could be touched up a little bit, but not a big deal. So they obviously didn't skimp on a lot of things. An interesting mismatch there. I didn't see any other cracking in the floor like I did in the main living area in either of the two bedrooms. Here's the sauna room and a little desk. There's a little bit of cracking there, but other than that, it's just limited to that main living area. So again, you've got two interesting kind of oversized closet rooms to play with. That's not as cool. A little wood blocker there, so I'm gonna see if I can go out the main one. Tall ceilings down here too. You got the screens on the doors. I'm just checking again for any more cracks in this side of the house. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be running across the whole foundation. And I'm not going to pretend to be a foundation expert to diagnose this, but I just want to at least kind of point it out in the video. And that's the tour. So as far as extra sleeping spaces go, you've got kind of this nook, which again is not going to be for an adult, but could be for a kid. And then you've got these two rooms, like room closets, where you could take one of them and create kind of a bunk room sort of experience where, maybe it's that room and you put a set of bunks in there and then another set of bunks in the back room. And so you've got that fourth sleeping space. If you felt like that was important to force that. You could obviously also slide some bunks right here in the main living area if you wanted to get this room feeling more like a game area where you do some bunks and then some floor kids mattresses over here. So as far as having the square footage and the space for it, you could do that. There's just not an obvious fourth full bedroom. Really doesn't feel that steep to me. I've felt a lot steeper, and I feel like the two-wheel drive cars will be fine, and there's no through traffic, which is nice. So overall, I feel very comfortable with the roads. Just showing it from this other angle too. That's the extent of the gravel here, and then it's paved from right here the rest of the way, and pretty smooth. This part right here is a little rough, but again, not anything that would keep the guests from getting to the property just fine. And a little bit of expectation management is all you need there. Like, hey, it's all paved roads, there's a little bit of gravel, just be careful on the last turn or two down the hill, and you're good in two-wheel drive. And that's really it. So as far as, you know, generally when you're getting a mountain view, you're gonna have some steep roads, and I've seen much worse, and overall really comfortable with the roads getting to the property.